Ladies and gents, top 5 buy lows players to trade for after week number 4. Let's jump right in. Numero uno. Back on the same train, Alvin Kamara. I'm going to put his name back on here. I liked him last week and I'm going to like him again this week. Why? Been injured. Rib injury. Has now missed 2 games and was a late scratch for the game in London. But again, as a buy low, people aren't going to value him as much. He was an RB1 first round pick 2-3 years ago. He was a top 3 running back. Catches the ball out of the backfield, which is essentially what you want in a running back for PPR leagues. My gosh, he's got to come back to some relevancy, right? So I'm going to go for it. I mean, risk it all to win it, and I'm going to send the team who has Kamara something, it doesn't have to be incredibly amazing in price what you're going to give him. Maybe give him a couple bench or one starter, get back a starter and a bench piece, and then bring in Kamara if you're especially a deep team. He's got to come back again. He had 17 carries the week before, 60 yards, hasn't caught the ball out of the backfield, which is why, and no touchdowns, which is essentially why he's got no points. But again, he's getting more carries than Eckler. He's getting more carries than, let's say, sometimes Fournette or other RBs, CMC and others. Just hasn't caught the ball much out of the backfield, and maybe that's also a Jameis Winston thing. And I don't think that's going to be a pattern, though, so more touchdowns to come. Eckler had a 3-touchdown day. Same thing can happen to Kamara at any day of the week, even though the Saints are struggling. I'm going to send it on a buy here for Alvin Kamara. Let's move on to the next. Numero dos, Jamar Chase. All right, this Bengals offense is interesting because T. Higgins is balling, right? T. Higgins has been balling. The question now is, can you trust Jamar Chase every single week? And I think you can. Again, 29 points week 1, this PPR, 11, 12, and 12. These are his points past 4 weeks. His targets have been there, 6 or more in every game. So he's still getting the targets that you need for a wide receiver 1 position. Only 2 touchdowns, so nothing crazy. I am buying all in on him. Again, remember, he has the better connection than any receiver, him and Joe Burrow. They played in LSU. And then this Bengals offense is still going to be elite. They're going to be a push for the playoffs. They were in the Super Bowl last year, guys. I talked about the Bengals last week. They are a team that you can trust offensively. Joe Mixon had almost 7 attempts to get a touchdown. It might be over 7 attempts to get touchdowns at the goal line last week. He's going to get multiple options as far as being a fantasy starter. And same with Jamar Chase. He was a top 3 receiver you guys drafted. Imagine 4 weeks in, you can go trade for a top 4 receiver for a cheaper price than you'd have gotten after week 1 when he had 30 points. Hell yes, buy all in. Why not? Go for it. Same reason with Kamara. And you guys going to see a lot of these guys are big name players because we go big or go home. Might as well send it for the big guys, see what people are willing to offer. And if you want to go grab some little measly bench players, go right ahead. We're not going to make videos like that as far as you trying to get a bench player. We're going for the big guns. Number 3, Mark Andrews, number 1 tight end behind Kelsey, I think. And he had huge weeks 2 and 3, 25 points and 29 points. Had a 10-point week 1 and a 3.5 week 4 against Buffalo. Buffalo, good defense. But again, it was raining, poor conditions. It was a very tight game as far as low scoring, and Andrews is easily a top 2 tight end. A lot of times will be the number 1 tight end just like he was last year. It's not going to change. No drastic adjustments have been made to any offense, to what Mark Andrews is as a player, to what he is personally. He's going to be just fine. Tight end 1, if you can get him. I mean, he had a bad week. Maybe somebody's like, hey, I want to ship him out, get something better for him. I don't know why somebody would, but this is, again, something that you want to take a look at. And he might be crossing into not even a buy low territory, but just an overall buy. If somebody's frustrated or somebody needs to get out of a hole if they're 0-4 or 1-3, go buy Mark Andrews. My God, he's their best target for Lamar Jackson, guys. Don't forget it. Lamar is like Duvernay and Bateman, but his security blanket is Mark Andrews. Fantasy winner for you, especially if you're making a run for the playoffs. Number 4, I'm bringing his name back up. Deebo Samuel, he's playing Monday night. but he's been struggling. He had 12 points, 14 points, and another 13 point first 3 weeks. We'll see what he does Monday night. But again, guys, same story with the 49ers. Jimmy is back. Kittle is back. This offense with Deebo, especially Deebo fantasy-wise, was a top 5 receiver last year. Kittle was also a decent tight end when healthy. This offense was really, really damn good. And what has changed? I mean, Trey Lance is done for the year. Nothing's crazy has changed. They're a little bit unhealthy with Trent Williams was out last week and some other pieces weren't there, so had some issues. So tough game against Denver. Defense. So buy low. Perfect buy low. This guy was a top 3-5 receiver last year. And he just hasn't gotten the targets. I mean, he had 7 targets, 6 targets, 8 targets, couple receptions. Not a lot of rushing attempts. Maybe due to his contract, he doesn't want to rush as much anymore, which you can understand. But he got it. He got that contract. He's going to be a viable fantasy option, wide receiver 1 in the future. He is. That's who he is. Don't forget it. And if he doesn't turn out that way, then damn, a lot of different receivers who you thought were going to be good weren't going to be that, because he has every piece in the offense that he needs to be the number 1 guy in targets, rushes, whatever you need him to be. And last but not least, we had some huge updates today with JT, Jonathan Taylor, and the Colts. High ankle sprain potential. Out 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. Nyheim Hines becomes a huge waiver wire, especially in your league with Fab. Gosh, you don't even know how much people might put up for Nyheim Hines if he's not on a team already. And I'm a buy low for Taylor. If your team is 2-2, 3-1, and you can get into the playoffs with 6 different teams, 4-6 teams, get in, and your team is strong enough to withhold a potential couple weeks out of Taylor, dude, send it. I mean, Taylor, again, I still think this offense will be fine. They just need to figure something out. I don't know if it's the repetition that they need, if Matt Ryan's just that bad. I don't think Matt Ryan's worse than Carson Wentz was last year, and Taylor was the number 1 RB last year. So I think he'll be back. I think he'll be better. They need to win some games. The division is very winnable with Jacksonville and Titans struggling half the time anyway. Taylor will be back. If he only misses a week or 2, you'll get him for the stretch run, especially come playoff time. He is a guy to target. The number 1 fantasy RB that was drafted this year. You can potentially get him for a buy low. I mean, look at his stats. 7 points week 2, 12 points week 3, 3 points, a whopping 3 points week 4. Somebody's frustrated. Somebody's struggling. Get him for a cheap. Give him a starter, another bench piece. You might be able to grab the number 1 fantasy RB. He may not be number 1 this year, but he'll easily be a starter for your team come playoff time and could potentially win you a freaking championship, was the whole goal. That's your top 5 buy lows. We're going to do some trade advice in the future video because we need to get our teams corrected. Let's go.
I think I'm in love, say it way too often. I can't play these games, think I'm switching up the offense. See me in LA, I'll be moving cautious. I can